Good. All right, we will call the Crow Wing County Committee of the Whole meeting, July 19th to order. First item on the agenda, farm lease. Ryan.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I don't know if I think we have a map in the packet of 80-acre piece of property that we've been leasing. You have handouts as well to the school district since 1972. We've been doing 10-year lease increments in the past, and the school has used it periodically for various things, equipment storage, maintenance. They have a greenhouse out there that I think some senior citizens use for growing vegetables and such. And the current lease expires at the end of this year. And so I believe I've had some discussions with Reed. I believe the ask is to extend the current lease for one more year while the school looks at options for potentially purchasing the property. We could also just continue with 10-year leases or multiple other options as well. But I think that's the discussion here today. Is I think the school has some interest in purchasing, and just wanted to talk that through. So, unless Reed has any more to add.
Well, good morning, and I'll do a quick introduction here in case those of you have forgot me. Reed TC, Director of Buildings and Grounds for the Brainerd Public Schools. As Ryan said, obviously the property out on Highway 25 and County Road 117 has been used as a school farm for years, for decades actually. Over the past few years, I would say probably 10, the school farm program has diminished, and they've moved that operation closer to the high school and reduced it in scope. And so since there has been a long-standing lease, we still utilize that property. Again, we have greenhouses out there that we sublet to the senior center for their plant sale. So that's a very, very beneficial program for the center. They utilize it significantly from about after Christmas, January timeframe, all the way through early summer, utilizing it to grow their plants and sell that as proceeds for their operations, similar to their donut sales. So we still utilize it. We perform a lot of vehicle and equipment maintenance out of the main facility out there. We do store equipment out there and use it. We still as part of the referendum and the construction of all of our sites and facilities, we're still ironing out what long-term plans look like for the Brainerd School District. So my initial conversations with Ryan was that I don't see long-term that we would bring back the farm program to that location, but we might have an interest moving forward for another type of use for that property. And so what I had asked Ryan initially here earlier this year, being that the term is expiring in December, is for that one-year renewal until we can continue to have conversations with Crow Wing County about what we might have interest in and what a sale or what a transfer might look like. So that's kind of where we're at with it. So again, my request would be that we do this for one more year and see how things shake out.
Mr. Query.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this is in my district, and I was informed and asked about the lease, and I said I will absolutely not support another 10-year lease at $25 a year. I believe this property the board should have a discussion about either the sale of this property or what we're going to do with it, because it's a very expensive piece of property, which I think if it was developed, some homes were built there, we'd have just that much more tax base. We'd have people paying taxes rather than all the citizens of Crow Wing County really not getting any benefit off of this property at all. And so I did run into Reed at Costco probably about a month and a half ago, and I talked to him about it, and I said, I'm not going to support that. And he said, would you support 1 year? I'll support 1 year. So that we can, between now and the next, when term expires, we need to have a conversation. If they want to buy it, if the school wants to buy it, that's fine. Not for a dollar, I can tell you that. I would never, ever support that. Our job is to look out for the taxpayers. I can't speak for the school district. But I'm okay with this 1 year, but we need to definitely have a very serious conversation about what we want to do with this piece of property. And if the school district doesn't want to buy it, then I think we need to put it up for sale. When I went to school, the school farm was out there, there was greenhouses. I don't see any greenhouses there. Where are they at?
It's on the southeast side of the main facility there, so you can't see it. It's tucked in. When you come in the driveway, it's immediately to your left. It's tucked in behind the woods there. There's a greenhouse there.
And obviously, when I come into town all the time, I very seldom see the gate open. When is the senior center, when are they planting plants in there?
They're usually, like I said, Commissioner Coring, they're usually there during the day from January through June, the start of June, when the greenhouses typically close around the community here. And then the maintenance, my grounds and facilities guys that are out there performing all of our grounds maintenance on our equipment, they're usually there from when mowing stops on our athletic facilities, so after football season, so when freeze happens all the way until thaw. So it's used more heavily in the winter time because of the warm facility that we have out there than it is during the summer.
So Mr. Chair, so a greenhouse in the winter time obviously has to have heat in it.
It's heated, yep.
So is the senior center paying a lease? Are they
Yep,
paying?
they sublet to the Brainerd School District, yep.
Okay. Anyway,
Oh,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I can. This is 80 acres. Would the school be using all 80 acres, or? It looks like you're only using about maybe 40 or part of that.
Yeah, we're mainly using the southern, probably 20 acres is what we're typically using there. And so on your handout, you can see the developed piece of the property there. It's really the southeast corner of that 80. Without getting into too many specifics that I haven't had full discussion with my school board about, there's a number of known needs that we have moving forward. Some could take developing a site for a bigger use, which would be more than what is shown developed here. I don't know that it would be the full 80 acres, Commissioner Brecken, but it would be more than what is there currently. We don't have any maintenance facilities anywhere. That's why we use that farm building to perform vehicle maintenance. That's something, obviously, from my experiences here and experiences in my past careers, ongoing maintenance is important to me to maximize taxpayer dollars. And so I want our crew to be doing more of that, whether that is there or at a different site. We do have school property throughout the Brainerd School District area here. So we're kind of up in the air of where we'd like to develop something moving forward. But again, I haven't reviewed it with my board yet, so I'm not saying that they even fully support that yet. So that's why I'm asking for this 1 year extension to meet with the board.
But it could be split. It could
Yep.
be split also. So.
Could potentially, yes.
I can only speak, Mr. Chair, on the senior center, and I know how important that opportunity is to raise their plants and what that means in terms of revenue for their programming over at the senior center. And so personally, I will go along with Commissioner Coring that we'll do a 1 year extension. I would hope that your board would come back with what their future plans are for that property, but I would like to see at least a portion of it stay with the school district at that point. So hopefully they're willing to purchase and continue to operate out there.
Well, I think to me, it's kind of the same thing as when we had that property right in Baxter, and it didn't make any sense for us to have it, because we're not doing anything with it. And so Baxter said, I actually think it should have been developed into houses, but Baxter said they wanted it, so fine. So then we came up with a price, and,
Yep.
and we didn't give it away either.
No, we sure didn't.
So I don't know, I guess I'm just, a little bit ornery towards the school district. I see all, the stuff happening. I see Lincoln being torn down, which I just, you don't have to agree with me, but I just don't see it. I don't see it when building all new, when we've got Franklin, we got the Edison, that was the Lestadian Church, which is still being used. It's a beautiful facility for the church, so anyway, I don't see the vision that the school district has, but I'm not on the school board.
So Commissioner Coring, obviously the short-term vision was the referendum. One of the new things with our new superintendent, she's now in her third week of leading the organization, is creating that next vision. And again, to the one-year lease, that's the intent of a one-year lease, is to sit down with the new superintendent of schools. Obviously, you've seen the newspaper, we're going to have a significant turnover in the school board. Multiple candidates are not running again, and we have, I believe now, 5 out of 6 open seats or up for election seats in the school board. So could see a significant turnover in our board. I would like an opportunity to meet with those candidates when they become elected, and one of our immediate visions is building that next long-term vision, or adding on to our previous vision of the referendum and adding on what the next phase of Brainerd Public Schools looks like. And this one-year lease would be opportunity for us to have that conversation and then get back to you guys and update you with what that is.
Hopefully, it's not another referendum.
Mr. Chair, if I
Speak for the
might,
board.
I appreciate the 1 year because I have a board meeting with the center on Thursday, and I'll bring this forward to them that we're working on a 1 year, because if, we have to have a contingency plan to move somewhere else if the school district chooses not to purchase that, at least that southern portion of the property. So I will bring that forward to them so that they are aware. And this is no different than what we're seeing at the Brainerd City Council when it comes to these nonprofits, so.
Yep.
But this is it's an attractive piece of property out there, so.
Yep, understood. And Commissioner Barrows, I've had that, I informed the center, Miss Berry over there, that we do have a lease renewal coming up, and a continuation of their lease would be pending a continuation of this lease, because we can't sublet something that wouldn't be ours, so.
Just so you know, they really appreciate that
I know they do.
opportunity out there.
I've received that feedback,
Means
yep.
a lot to them, so thank you.
Yep.
Can we be privy to how much they're paying?
I think their lease is for $1 or something along those lines.
Of course.
But their revenue is about $20,000 or $23,000, depends on the year and how the plants grow, and whether there's any mechanical problems with the air exchange system out there, but it's a significant number for their budget.
The couple in the back, were you here for this item? No? Okay. Well, I
You sure you don't want to weigh in?
to Commissioner Brecken's point of somehow, I think there's a way to kind of kill two birds with one stone here, whether we sell the whole 80 to the school or whether we start looking at dividing it off. I think even, the 60 acres could be sold and 20 to the school system, but I think
But I
the
think
lease is up December 30th.
between now and then, the end of the lease,
And-
I would like to have a very drill down deep and have a discussion about, okay, what do we want to do with this? Because it is a very attractive piece of property close to town, where somebody just doesn't have to live in town, but they're close to town. And if some developer wanted to put some houses in there, and it's like I said, this benefits, if we do it the way I would like to do it, and there's some beautiful homes in there, it's more tax base for Crow Wing County. It's less burden for all the other taxpayers of Crow Wing County, because we're getting it on the tax rolls. And that's a good thing, people.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the consistent message I'm hearing here, but I know you've got a challenge trying to get direction from the school board as well, so we'll have to keep this on our agenda here.
Well, I totally agree that this needs to be looked at, and I will agree for the one-year lease. And there are 5 people up for re-election on the school board this year, so that's most of the school board, so.
Right, they've got a deficit now, so I think that nobody could make a decision, so they decided, well, I'm getting out of here. So that's probably what happened, is my guess.
But my question, Ryan, is, it looks like there's a road that goes someplace. What is that, and where does it go?
Oh, that's it's a gas.
Natural gas
A
easement.
gas easement, yep.
Yep, so they keep that brush down for the gas company to be able to survey that line. So that's the Northern Natural Gas Pipeline.
Okay, and it goes to other.
Yep, it goes
properties.
north-south there, so it comes out onto TC Road and then all the way up to John McKay's fields there.
Okay, thank you.
So are
And then
we
the
expecting-
other one that runs, the other one, Rosemary, that runs east-west there, that's the power lines that come from the Riverton substation.
Well, I'm sure they'll have a resolution for the next board meeting, probably.
Yeah, so since this term would expire at the end of the year, before the end of the year, we would come back to you with an updated lease agreement for like a one-year extension would be my goal. I would like to get my board to sign off on that before we bring it to you, or vice versa. Either way, we can go either direction, but that would be what we would do before the
So
end
that
of the
would
fiscal
bring
year.
us to the end of 2023.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But put that, Gary and Ryan, put that on your radars, us having and Reed, to have a conversation, after the election sometime and after you've had a chance to talk to your new school board and then decide what we're going to do.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to be my work with Dr. Hahn and the direction that she has in mind for some of the services that we provide. We may need to, again, look for facilities for some of those locations, and I don't know that an in-town facility is the right thing for us, so being this would be out of town. But happy to work with Crow Wing County and figure out what the school district's needs would be, what our ask of the property would be, and we'll work with you guys on that vision, for sure.
And sounds good. You'll talk to Dr. Hahn and we'll talk to Dr. Hool and we'll get it figured out.
There we go,
so.
perfect, sounds great.
Where is Dr. Hool? I thought he was back from vacation.
Medical appointment at 8:30.
He'll be here.
He'll be late.
Anything else, you guys? I think
Nope.
Nope.
we're probably good with this one. with
Sounds
that
good.
Direction, I
Right.
think, so.
Good
Thank
to
you.
see you again, Reed.
Good to see everybody, thank you.
And you too, Ryan.
Yep.
Good to
Oh,
see
Ryan's
you.
going to stay here.
Stay here for the next one.
Thanks, Reed. Let's see. All right. Ryan, you're up next with,
Yep, we have an easement request from, let's see, in Mission Township, I believe Teresa has a map to pull up. Let's see here. So it's Ikers. Can you rotate that by any chance?
I can't on this one, but I'll pull up the other one. Hold on. Maybe I can.
I have a few copies. Would it work to put one on the projector?
Put me under pressure. Hold on. We'll use this one. Where's the rotate?
You right click. Rotate. Bingo. So
Bingo.
Mr.
good
Ikers
bingo.
owns the 40-acre parcel there and then a 20-acre parcel there in Mission Township, and currently has no legal access to the 40-acre parcel. He's asked the Wenishes and the Nolans for an easement, and they're not agreeable to an easement across those two parcels. And so his only other option is to go across tax forfeited land. So that yellow line would be the proposed easement route off of the old Bridge Road, and we'd essentially just follow the section line, 33 feet wide, and connect with his corner there. So that's pretty much.
So I thought, Mr. Chair, I thought we already had a discussion on this, and I thought that they could come in from the south, and then they had an easement across that Wenishch.
So there's an easement across the Wenishes, but it doesn't benefit that 40-acre parcel. So,
But in reality, they do have access to the 40 acres now, correct? We talked about this before.
I believe they do.
Yeah, they have access. Gary, who talked about it before? I don't remember.
Mr. Eggers came to the County Board of Appeal and Equalization.
Oh, that's right.
Contesting the value on the 40 because he believes it's landlocked. I have a different opinion of that it's not landlocked, but,
Well,
Gary, could you come to the mic, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. We just can't hear you way back there.
sorry. Yes, I believe what's in,
Oh, come on.
See, we need different mics.
good morning, Commissioners. I believe what's in debate here is if the 40 is landlocked or not. Mr. Akers can better explain where the easement is that runs across, I believe it's on the map there, the Weinish property, kind of goes up to the corner, yeah, right in there, I believe.
It's right on
If I'm- yeah.
on that 40, it's right on the right-hand corner. He's got an easement to go across to the next 40.
I believe so, but I
believe
think there was some issue, if I remember right, that it was recorded on maybe the wrong property. So he's concerned that potentially he doesn't have access. But I could let Mr. Akers explain exactly what his concern is on that back 40.
Can you check that out to make sure?
No,
Because
I know, when we had this discussion, he has access to it now. He has access to it. He has an easement through that property.
Yeah,
We had that discussion, didn't we?
we did have that discussion, correct?
So why would we grant an easement when there's already access to that property?
well, I guess my understanding is that the easement agreement is for an easement across this property. And
Right.
it lists this parcel as the protected or the benefited parcel from the easement. So my understanding is this easement allows access to this parcel. So somebody could legally go from here to here, but not from here to here. That's my understanding.
That doesn't make sense.
I think it was, as Gary said, an error in the recording of the easement probably, where they only listed this parcel as being protected where they should have listed this one.
A one-way easement?
Yep,
One-way easement?
yep.
No, I don't.
more information. I can't make a decision when we don't know if the easement goes two ways.
A question for clarification, if I can.
That.
Let's say there is an easement, are you saying, Commissioner Coring, you would not support another access
No,
route to the
I will
40?
not. No, I will not. If there's access now, I'm not going to support another easement.
Is it all right if we let Mr. Eicherts explain exactly what his concern is?
If you'd like to. That's a strange.
Good morning. I'm David Akers. I'm here with my wife, Violet Akers. The issue we have is that the easement that I currently have from the Wenish ends at his north border. It does not go into the 40 acres. So if I sold you that 40 acres, you've got no way to get to it on it. And that's the issue, except by way of the snowmobile trail on it. Because and that's kind of what we're trying to do is as we get older and both of us are retired CPAs, we know that real estate is the biggest single thing that ends up being problems when a person passes away. And so what we want to do is to address this because we feel that it is technically if we try to sell the 40, there's no way that person can get to it because the easement was written to benefit only the 20 acres and crossing the Wenish property to hit his north border.
That doesn't make any sense. So to hit his north border is your south border. So you just go right into your 40. No?
Right. As I stand here now, you are correct. My wife and I have access to that 40. The issue is if we sold the 40 or we sold the 20, that the property can't, there's no access to it.
But I don't know, I guess I've never seen this county board grant an easement when there's already an easement there. Right now, you have access. But if somebody bought that 40, that's their responsibility to get an easement into their property.
Well,
Mr. Chair, if I might, just for clarification, Mr. Akers, what you're saying is if you sold that 40 up there, but you didn't sell the other portion, they wouldn't have access.
precisely,
That's what you're saying.
precisely.
So he'd have to sell both pieces of property to have access to the one
Yes.
Yes.
piece of property.
Yes.
My question is, so if you sold the 40, you wouldn't allow them to use the access that's already, the easement that's already there? You would cut them off?
It's not my decision, because
Well,
that
it's your
property doesn't
property.
benefit.
Both of those are your property. You could grant an easement.
So for
Like?
clarification, if I might, the potential scenario would be that you'd sell to two different people, and that one property would not have access then, assuming that the new owner of what I look at as a southern plot of land, wouldn't grant access on that easement, correct?
That's correct.
See, I'd make sure that was on there
Property.
normally.
Like, maybe we have, I guess I have some different information, so maybe we have to seek an opinion from our attorney's office, or
I'd
Mr.
like you to do
Ikers
that before we
maybe
make
could
any
hire an
decisions.
attorney
I
too.
always thought easements went with the property, not with the owners.
They do.
So regardless of which
Yeah,
one.
our staff opinion that we sought in land services was just what I mentioned. The easement is, granted to Mr. Ikers across this Wenish property, but it's only listed this parcel as being benefited by the easement. So,
What do you mean benefited? They have an easement to get to that property.
to get to this property, which is, I think, an error when the easement was recorded. So if somebody was here, you could go this way legally to get to this parcel, but you can't go this way because this parcel's not listed in the easement document as being benefited by the easement.
Ryan, can't we change that though, and get it corrected?
Probably a legal question, because that would affect this landowner here, and this is the way it was recorded.
But it's already there to get it affects him now.
Well, to me, it sounds like you're trying to get prepared get your ducks in a row so that you can sell that, and you're gonna get an easement, and then you're gonna sell that 40. It sounds like that's what you're gonna do. And with me, I've been here almost 10 years. I've never seen us grant an easement to somebody that already has an easement. You own both of those parcels, and you have an easement across there. So why would we grant easement across the other taxpayer's property so that now you have two easements? You're coming in the north side, and you're coming in the south side. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, because if we sell the 40, like I said before, there's no way for an independent person to go from the 40 down to the Old Bridge
I understand that,
Road.
but then that's when you would come to the county board, is when you don't have access to it. Then you say, hey, I got this 40, I don't have any access, I need an easement. And then, I'm guessing we'd probably grant it to you. I mean, I think people have to give a cartway even through private property for you to get to your property. But when you've already got an access, I don't know, I can't support it if you've already got access to it.
Mr. Chair, if I might say, Ryan, if we could get this recording, and Gary, get the recording straightened out, it would seem that would solve the problem that Mr. Ikers has.
That's not what he wants. He wants an easement into that other 40
But if-
so that he can sell that other 40.
But if the recording is wrong, Commissioner Coring, and we get the recording corrected,
Then he'll have
then that
access.
easement is there and accomplishes exactly what you're saying, where it follows the land, not the purchaser of the property.
The recording, in my opinion, is not their business, not ours. You know, we don't do private title work or easements for people on their own property. That would be up to Mr. and Mrs. Akers to resolve that issue. You know, they brought this to us, so we said we'd come and have a discussion. I do believe, he does have legal access now. It's like you have an 80 acres and your first 40's on the road, your back 40's off. Well, a lot of times they want to say, well, my back 40's landlocked. Well, it's not landlocked because you're the current owner, you know. We don't deal a lot with the what ifs. This one's a little unique because if he sells the 40 by itself, it does become potentially landlocked, depending on who he sells it to. If he sells it to Weenish, probably not an issue. If he sells it to Nolan, probably not an issue, you know, because they're right there beside it. But I mean, sells it to anybody that doesn't own property next to it, it could be an issue for access. But currently, Mr. Eichert has access to his property. That's pretty clear.
The overriding issue, you know, that, and how we even got onto this is that a realtor told us that if I sold the 40, when you go to closing, besides having the money to pay me for it, they also have to have title insurance. And they can't get title insurance for a mortgage unless they have access. And that's how this whole thing kind of started on it.
But then, if you sold them both pieces, they would have access to the 40.
Sure, if that happened. But that may or may not happen.
Mr. Chair, if I can. Ryan, take a look with your pointer. If you look at the top part of the 20 acres, you're coming off that old Bridge Road. Why couldn't he do his own easement across it or do a road there up to his?
Like right
Southern-
here, right there.
Yeah.
He's asked Mr. Nolan about an easement, and he's been denied that, because that's another, just,
Yeah, but he can put the road on his own property until it gets to the corner.
he would still need to cross just a little bit of the corner, because the corners aren't wide enough for,
Oh, aren't they?
yep. So he'd need 20, 30 feet, yep. And that, he could also pursue, if unsuccessful in all other routes, they could pursue a cartway through there, too.
Have you ever asked the Weenishes if they would allow you to go across the corner and give up the other easement that goes through the middle of their property?
Yes, we asked Lenish's on June 10th, and we talked to Nolan's on June 13th, and they turned us down. There's issues, you know, that they have. I think one of them, all the land is owned by a trust. They no longer individually own it. The other one is that there's I believe, a mortgage on it, and you can't. And with banks nowadays, they don't really want to impact their collateral. So basically, what they did is that it doesn't help them in any way, so they just turned it down. I did offer to buy or trade pieces of the 20 for those pieces just for that purpose. Like, for instance, that Nolan piece, the only parcel that he has on the west side of Old Bridge Road is that 10 acres. I offered to trade him my land that goes on the east side of Old Bridge Road, and I would pay the difference. And I thought that was a good idea. I met with the Land Services staff, and they said, yes, you could do that. And I talked to Westwood Engineering. We have an agreement with them for doing all our survey work, and they say, yes, you could do that. And so I approached both parties about doing that, a swap on it, because it would just make it, I thought it would benefit everybody. Well, they all turned thumbs down on it, so it was, so.
Ryan, I think we just need some more legal counsel on that easement that's there today. I guess I'm just confused of why it would work one way and not the other.
Me too.
So I don't know if that's something we could.
Who said it works one way and not the other?
Staff, Land Services staff.
Written, it only allows access in one direction.
You'll drive
And
and you
that's
can't come out.
Have you ever heard of such
what
a thing, Dr. Hool?
No. If you're going to provide access, it would generally be both ways, but I haven't seen the specifics here, and so I'm only commenting very generally.
It works both ways if you own both parcels.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
right now, yeah, you can come and go as you please.
So can I ask another question to Gary? So, Gary, you've been here 10 years plus, so have we, if somebody has access to their property, have you ever seen us grant another easement when they have access to their property? I mean,
I think we did one time where it was limited access. There was a property up on, I think it was Mitchell Lake, where they had to come across an old covered bridge, and that bridge was kind of dilapidated.
Okay.
So we did give them an easement, I think it was a Mr. Miller, to come down north to get into the backside of their property. But that, the bridge was pretty, I don't think you could get an ambulance across it, so that's.
And I'm not trying to be difficult or be mean to you, don't get me wrong. It's just that if somebody already has access to their property, I'm a custodian of all the taxpayers. Why would I be giving another access because you might be selling that 40 down the road? Why would I be granting that with the permission from all the taxpayers in Crow Wing County, and they'll look at it and they'll say, well, he's already got an access to that property. I just don't see it. I mean, if you sold that, then somebody would have to say, hey, I need an easement, then I'd be for it, but you've already got access, so I don't know why I'd grant another easement. I know that probably doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to me, but.
Well, all I'm trying to do is prevent an issue down the road, because there is a lot of interest in people buying that property on it. There's hardly well, it's not every week, but at least every month, we get an offer on it, and they want it. But as soon as they say, can you take me there and show it to you? And I say, yeah, I can personally take you there, but if you buy it, you got no way of getting to it, except you get on your snowmobile in the wintertime and then come in from Greer Lake. That's the issue.
Well, Mr. Chair, I don't need any other information. I feel like Mr. Ikers he's got access to it now, so I'm not in favor of going forward with granting any another easement to it. So, but if the rest of you need more information, that's fine with me. But I'm a no on it.
I need more.
Yeah, I think, I
I'd
don't
like
know
more.
where the others stand, but I would just like to hear more about this the current easement.
That's what I need more information
and
about,
some-
not about the land.
But there's nothing we can do about the easement. We don't get involved in, that's a private easement. We wouldn't be doing anything with that, and the county board wouldn't.
No, we wouldn't, because but still, I've never heard of a one-way easement. I'd just like to know more about it.
Yeah, I guess.
The biggest thing is, it's recorded on the 20 acres, it's not recorded on the 40. So you sell the 40, there's nothing.
So if he would record it on the 40, his problem would be solved.
That'd be a legal issue if he can do that and grant rights to a 40 across somebody else's, but that's lawyer land.
Well, maybe we ask you to review it with your legal counsel and come back to us with their findings. I don't know what else we could do, but I guess I've never heard of.
Do you
this
see
kind of
where I'm
situation,
coming
so-
from, Tim? I just,
Yes.
I don't know why would the county board grant an easement when somebody already has an easement to their property?
If I understand correctly, there is an easement that allows the Ikers to move between their 20-acre parcel and their 40-acre parcel.
Correct.
Across where the two come together.
When
And Wenish has granted an easement?
Yes, he's granted it from going from my 20 to his northern border.
Okay. And you're saying that easement is recorded on the one property but not on the other property?
Yes.
Are there any restrictions on your ability to record it against the other property?
I asked.
Guess I'm not sure what you're asking.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't just go to the recorder's office and ask them to record that same easement against your 40-acre parcel? But what I would say is, even if he does that, he will have access across there, but then if he sold the 40, there would be.
But that's not the reason why he wants it. He doesn't, to me, it looks like he wants to be able to sell that 40 and say, here's a 40 for sale and I've got access right here. You know, when he owns both of them right now and he has access, if he sold the 20 and the 40 together, that person would have access to both of them.
That's correct.
So I'm just saying, why would we grant an easement when there's already an easement there?
Sold this, he wants to go this way.
Right, and
He
I-
wouldn't go that way.
Yep, I understand that. If he separates the parcels, there are two parcels of
Yes.
record.
Yep.
And so there is nothing that prevents him from selling the one versus the other.
No.
We know that.
Once you sell that, I would argue the 40 acre will no longer have access.
Right.
And then you
But
may
it does
get a
now.
partway request, you may get some other way.
But then
of
wouldn't we
granting.
address it at that point? Why would we be doing it now?
You can.
Yeah.
What if if I hear you correctly, what if I revoke the existing easement, so then I don't have any on it, and then just approached you for the northern boundary?
Then you're landlocked. Then I would have no.
So you'd have no trouble.
Then I would support it. I'm not going to support it when you've already got access to it. But if you came in, if that other one was revoked off of that, and I think the Wincher or whatever that property, I would think he'd be glad to have that, nobody going across his property.
Well, I'm sure he would.
I'm sure he would.
Here's
Then
what I
You
hear.
would not be able to get there either, except by going another route.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Wouldn't be able to get there, if you revoke that easement, you wouldn't be able to get there either unless you went another route. Is that something you'd really want to do?
Well, if we had access on the proposed route, you know, that takes all the access issue out of it. It would simplify my world on it.
Here's the challenge with that. What I hear is you would like to wait until such time as he sells the parcel and deal with what you have in front of you at that time.
Correct.
The others of you, I hear, want more information about the easement so that you can determine whether or not he has access to the one parcel today or not.
We know he has access to the one parcel today, I believe. We want to know how come it's considered a one-way easement?
Yes, the question is about the easement.
Yes, it is.
But I'm sure that you're not going up to the 40 and then go, oh my God, I can't get back to my 20 because I can't turn around and go across it. That doesn't make any sense to me. But this is a what if. What if he sells it? He has no
And what
access.
if he
But he
doesn't?
has access right now. Well,
As long as-
Rusty,
as
do
long as the
what you
person-
guys want, but I'm not going to support it right as it looks right now.
As long as the same parcel owner owns the 40 and the 20, there is
Right.
access.
And he does.
There probably is access. The devil is in the details on that easement. We don't have it in front of us, right?
Future.
I have a
Oh,
copy,
do you?
but
Okay. But I guess what I've heard is that there is an interest in some more information about what the limitations are in that easement.
But the only thing is, okay, you get the information on that easement. This county board has nothing to do with a private easement. What are we going to do? What are we going to look at it and say? Nothing.
I think
There's
it's
nothing we can
relevant-
do.
I think it's relevant to the others whether or not he
Support it either.
currently does have access. That's what I'm hearing. I'm not suggesting, I don't have a dog in the fight here. I don't care what you guys do.
He has access.
I'm just trying to parrot back to you what I'm hearing from you.
His access, I wouldn't support it either because he
Where are we at?
I think I always make it clear where I'm at, but now it's up to you guys.
I won't support it at this time. He has access. I've been involved in another case like this where the party had access. They actually took it to court and sued and lost. So I won't support this. It's not,
Steve, what do you want to do? It's on your shoulders now,
I want
boy.
to go home.
That's what the school board did. I'm taking my sandwich and go home.
Well, I think from everything we've heard before about easements and that, when there's access, that's as far as our authority goes.
Right.
And so I guess at this point, there is access, and I have to accept that as the letter of the law, and that's where I will stand at this point. If other circumstances come before us regarding these pieces of property, then we'll consider what should take place at that time.
I agree with you guys that if Mr. Eichers decides to sell that property, a condition in the purchase agreement would be the buyer having access to that property. And at that time, he can come and request an
Correct.
So, I agree.
Does that give you what you need?
No, it does not.
So,
I mean, guidance.
all right, well, appreciate the time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan, I guess. That's interesting. I don't think we've ever had something like
Not in my 3+ years. And
I still want to know what a one-way easement is.
that. Yeah. I'm curious if there's a sign one way only. Okay, let's see.
Yes. Tim, is this what you want to?
Oh, my.
No, the one pager. The,
The one page of what?
this one.
They'll be fighting it.
Fine, I can't get it to open.
This one?
Yeah, yes.
That would be in there.
Ouch.
Ouch. Okay. Do you want to lift that chair a little higher? You don't have to be that low.
I can't win. Look at this. Definitely gonna, can you hear me now?
Looks like the president at a news conference.
They'll send you something here, I think.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I have one item here for you, and it's really a follow-up to the investment that you are allowing us to make in starting to understand the intersection of 210 and 371 a little better. I came to you, I believe it was in February, and requested a little bit of money to partner with Baxter and also MnDOT to kind of start the grassroots efforts to start to raise awareness about this intersection. It seems like it has not risen to the level or a priority for MnDOT, and that's, to me, that's kind of shown because they've had 2 studies on either side of it that did not fully include the interchange. And I think we all probably drove through it today, and we all use it, and a lot of your constituents use it, and it's a challenge, and it's only going to get worse with as traffic increases. So it's been there for 20 years now. I think the bypass was finished up in 2001 or 2000 or something like that. So it's just been gaining in its challenge since then. Also, one of the reasons why I started back in February is Congress passed trillions of dollars of transportation or infrastructure bills. And I felt that although this is a priority for us, we just weren't prepared to move forward and be competitive with the money and are competitive for those programs. And I can tell you, I almost get one every single day, either forward from MnDOT or the Federal Highway Administration or even local municipality said, here's another one. Here's another one that might work in here. And I got one the other day about the elimination of railroad crossings. That's one of the categories where Congress felt it was important to improve safety and spend some of this infrastructure money. But we're not prepared yet. And so I asked you to be able to partner with Baxter and MnDOT We did that over the course of the last 6 months or so. I've put the final report and a one-page summary in your packet, and I want to quickly go through that. You authorized $5,000. The final total is about $4,600 for us here, so we came in a little bit under budget. And I'll go through the results of try to go quickly through the one-pager and answer any questions you might have. Okay? The very first thing I want to say is that this is a very, very high-level conceptual look. We're just trying to figure out what the challenges are, identify them, be able to communicate them to elected officials like yourselves at the state level, at the federal level, to try to get some money to look closer at this and then eventually have a construction project. And so some of the concepts that you'll see are just that. You've heard the term 30,000 foot level. Well, this might be the 100,000 foot level. We just need to get enough awareness so somebody is willing to give us money to get to the next step. And that's how we're going to raise it in MnDOT's priority list so they pick it up. This is not a county road. This is a MnDOT road. We're just helping raise awareness. Mr. Coring.
And then I would just say something, Mr. Chair and board members, that, and I think you're aware of this, but it's been a little while ago, Congressman Pete Stauber, his office reached out to me and said, hey, I think the Congress went away from the earmarks, but then I think they went back to the earmarks again. And so I think that Congressman Stauber's office was looking for projects, and that's when I called you and I asked you to reach out to them. But we didn't have anything sitting on the shelf.
Right.
But if this was sitting on the shelf, could be a potential deal. I can remember when Congressman Oberstar was there and the overpass down by the Wild Rice Depot, that was all done because of an earmark by Congressman Oberstar. Otherwise, that would have never happened. So.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to develop the one-pagers like this that kind of boils down 10 or 12 pages. And so, somebody is busy with and hearing from all the other constituent groups can boil it down. So when he or she is competing with their colleagues either at Washington or at the state or at other levels, they can, this is why I need the money for my project. I can guarantee you that all the people and all the other elected officials that are competing for this kind of money have the same thing at their disposal. We had nothing, and so there was no way to really compete for this, in my opinion. So we're trying to raise the awareness so we can land the money for MnDOT, who will then move the study forward. Crow Wing County's involvement, we're out front on this study. That we will not be out front on the study of 210 and 371 once we start the ball rolling with some real money, a couple $1 million to do the environmental work, the public outreach, and a lot of stuff like that. We are not going to be out front. We'll be a stakeholder, of course, this is our county, but not leading the deep discussions about this and analysis. So I want to just right up front, it is very high level. There are some concepts. These drawings are pretty good. We can produce some pretty good drawings, but I just want to reiterate that we are not going out and there is no project. And it's easy to kind of start to already marshal the forces against some of these. And we would caution those that may see this to not do that. There's some things to talk about. The next step is where we're going to really dive deep, and then also our MnDOT will be diving deep and getting the answers to some of those questions. If that makes sense. Okay. So really the purpose I talked about it is to really look at high level to see what's out there, identify these potential problems and some potential solutions, and way more needs to be done. And so the project area, let's see here, is this is Elder Drive, this is Costco area, to Excelsior here, and then this is the Golf Course Drive, and then the railroad, and somewhere between here and, is it Glory Road? is the study area. And really the background is it's very high volumes there. At 371, it's 31,000 cars per day that go through that intersection. In the summer, it's higher than that, and in the winter,
The
it's
red
less.
X's, Tim, mean closure, possible
Yes,
closure?
yes. This is just some of these challenges that we've identified because it's important for those that would offer support for these grant opportunities or be talking to their elected officials who might be competing for the money, what the challenges are. And I can tell you it was, we tried to raise awareness through one of the recent state programs called Corridors of Commerce. And we didn't have any of this stuff. We just said, we need an interchange at this location, but we couldn't identify the impact to businesses. And of course, the Chamber of Commerce is very concerned about business access. And because we were able to not produce something like this to show that it could or may not impact business, they were reluctant to, get behind it as much as they could. And so it was really important to identify these. So yes, there are a couple of the concepts that include access closures, but we haven't taken that deeper dive to know if that can be even mitigated or we could find another solution that might modify to keep those accesses open. So 24,000 on 210 going east-west, and then going to the one pager here, it ranks 14th highest in crash cost. And that's related to the number of crashes and the types of crashes. So it's up there in terms of all the money that people spend and cost to society and those kind of things are in that calculation. It's one of the top 14 in that category in Minnesota. And I think that was important to highlight. It also, the number of crashes are 3 times the critical rate. And there's a lot of calculations that go in the critical rate, but you think about average of an intersection like this, the average, it's 3 times the average amount of crashes there. So it's just at the critical rate or at average, anything above average, you start to raise awareness. So it's 3 times that. And so we're just pointing out that it truly is a need, and this is the information as people compete with their colleagues at Washington or at state are going to be able to say, I'm in the top 20, and those kind of things. So we're added those on the one pager. So some of the key issues that we uncovered were the high volumes, of course. The active railroad crossing is the elephant in the room. Really, the railroad that's there really puts us in a box. Any at grade, meaning where there's not a bridge, one of the roads going over, under, or anything like that, that railroad crossing and the requirement to stop and things like that will always affect the intersection. So the best solutions, and we'll go through a few of them here, having to do with something that goes over under the other road. You could spend, the cheapest at grade one is about $13 million. You could spend $13 million, for example, and still have the railroad there stopping traffic and creating safety issues and those kind of things. And so we pointed that out in this report too. And then the other two down here, just in the, kind of in this summarizing, is the complex mix of local and interregional traffic. That's a fancy way of saying that, it's local traffic and our guests, thousands, hundreds of thousands of guests that are not familiar with it, and familiarity with the transportation system or unfamiliarity can lead to more crashes. So that's just a complicating factor. And then, of course, we are a retail hub here, so people are coming from all over, as I mentioned, and that's adding also to the volumes, too, the traffic volumes. So really, the potential improvement concepts were to put together a lower cost solution if we can, obviously. We wanted to investigate the at-grade options, provide options for grades separated, either over or under the other. We need to get over the railroad. We determined that the water table is such that going down with, so you could go down with the railroad too, would create a situation where it would have to be, the water would be constantly pumped out of there. And so that's one of the things we identified. We looked at a number of at-grade intersections, and maybe you can flip. We looked at a number of at-grade intersections, including kind of keeping it the way it is.
Is this the one you want?
No, next, that one right there. Nope, that one right there. But before I get to that, that's the only one that really survived kind of through this. And there's not even one of these in Minnesota. But we're brainstorming. This is a challenge. We're trying to figure out what are everything that could possibly.
What is it? It's like a roundabout.
That's an at-grade intersection called a full displaced left turn. Yeah, it's right. Nobody had ever seen it before on the team that was looking at this. And this isn't, like I said, this one is just one that we looked at. It isn't one that we're recommending at all. It's just, part of this was to kind of get everything on the table. But before I get to that, if we left it the way it was with signals, like it is four-way, 4 lanes in either direction, in the traffic volumes that we're predicting to increase, just normally, we need a 6-lane through there. Now we have a 4-lane. Now we need a 6-lane. If we just left it the same, I don't have the year exactly that would have to happen, but the volumes are going up, and you can imagine we just need more capacity. And everybody has been, of course, loves, favorite subject, roundabouts, right? And so I think in February when the media reported this, I was monitoring some of the chatter is like, oh no, here comes another roundabout, right? And we took a look at that too, and we just wanted to address that right away and say, if that was a roundabout there, it would have to be a 3-lane roundabout. And so, I don't know, nobody could ever think of one anywhere that's a 3-lane. So 2 lanes are a struggle, 3 lanes are impossible, and so the roundabout a roundabout will not work there. And so we wanted to address that right up front.
Thank you.
The other one, they work in a lot of places. They don't work everywhere, and here certainly is one of them. It's one of the, obviously, the busiest intersections in Minnesota. And then this full displaced left one, and I can tell you, I don't know if you can zoom in at all, but all these little black dots are signals. And so there's one signal there, signal light. And so each one of them would have a number of new stoplights. Anyway, this is one that we brought forward, the best of the at-grade concepts, and it's something that there are a lot of challenges with this too. They're not even in Minnesota. So the next brings us to the grade-separated concepts, and there's really 3 of them that we took a look at. 2 of them are based really in a diamond interchange. This is what a traditional interchange like you would see up at Pequot Lakes or something like that, where it's on-ramps going up to a road or down. And the first is, of the grade-separated ones, is the quadrant interchange. Not that one. Now I'm off of those. Sorry, Trees. But that's good. That's good to zoom in.
Do you want me to zoom out, or where, is
I'm
this the
sorry.
one you want?
Yeah, right there. So this is one of the grade separated ones that takes 371 over. This color is actually a bridge. And so introducing a bridge that would, you're coming up on grade, you're coming up the hill, get over the railroad and 210, and then get back down to grade here at Excelsior. This is one that we took a look at. And how people would use this. Good grief. How people would use this is if you were going from west or eastbound 210, they wanted to go north, you would get into a left turn lane here, get up on this. This is all over because this is the top of the bridge. It's hard to see the 3D part of it. You're actually going up to another intersection to go north.
Tim, where's the railroad tracks in that picture?
I'm sorry, the railroad is right here,
Right here.
On the bottom.
right in this area.
Would that require two sets of stoplights, right? One on the east side and the west side on 210?
There's one here, and there would be one here, and one here.
So three sets.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it's a challenging area. You can look at the right-of-way footprint that's here that obviously we'd want to stay within. The railroad is very restrictive on this side. And there is a decent amount of right-of-way here and here, but then it gets really close in this area. I believe this is railroad right-of-way too. This is WSN. This is the...
So obviously, I, as a county commissioner, I don't have any say in this at all, that it's not our county road, but I'll weigh in and just say that if you're spending millions and millions of dollars just to help the traffic flow, and it's not to help for safety reasons, if a lot of people are getting killed there, then I can see the reasoning. But if it's just to move the traffic along a little bit faster, that don't make any sense to me. So I told you that before when
Right. It's actually both.
No.
And so if you remove some of the conflicts, so even though that these are signals here, they're not as many conflict points. And so it's maybe hard to explain, is some of the movements are restricted. And so not only you're moving traffic through in both, on both roadways faster, unimpeded, but you're also removing some of the conflict points where those two volumes of traffic
Like
meet.
I said before, you get through that intersection, I'm heading north, get through that intersection, then I get to Fleet Farm at Excelsior, when there's a gazillion cars either going to Fleet Farm, Cub Foods, Cashwise Liquor, Holiday Gas Station. So then I've sailed through one intersection, now I'm right at the next one, and it's the same problem as down here, in essence, except you don't have 210 going this way. So, I don't know.
By eliminating this one, just high-level concepts, you're able to time it better with Glory Road. And so Glory Road would be the last one if they're coordinated. All these signals are coordinated. They're really not even on timing a lot of times. They were talking to one of their very smart systems. The traffic engineers would be able to time it so that actually this could even be improved over what is there today. So by eliminating one of the signals that has to be coordinated, you can actually probably have better operation.
So Tim, can I ask you a question? If you go further west on 210, you're closing Elder, but you're creating another access off from Foley,
Back this
just
way.
to the west there.
Back. But we want to see that way, so,
Zoom out.
Yep.
yeah, that's good.
So right there, you're creating another access.
Right.
And I know there's been no discussions with BNSF, which sits just above God, if you've dealt with them. And what they would require for a quiet zone, which is what Baxter has been trying to achieve over the years, and they've spent money on that. Do you think MnDOT's going to be in favor of spending that kind of money with BNSF to create that when, in theory, they could be sent down to Inglewood and come back? Now, I know that the commercial district would really be upset about that, I would assume, because that's a mile down the road. However, aren't we just moving that conflict from Elder to Foley? Because now you're going to have, when they come down Inglewood or they come off 210 from the west to go to Costco or Home Depot, they're going to be on the service drive there, and at Foley then, where the service drive and Foley come together and where you come, the new crossing of the railroad tracks, isn't there going to be a big conflict there?
There may be, and I guess that's that deeper dive that I'm talking that's needed. These are still high-level concepts. We know that there are studying. So as I mentioned, that there's a study this to the west, and there's a study that's been done to the east, but not in this particular area. So the study of the west has identified this as a challenge too. And so although we're showing it as something that would need to be closed, there's other studies that are looking at it. We don't know necessarily how all these other intersections would work. That's where we need the money to get to that. So we want it, if you had to close that, if you have a concept that closes something, you also have a concept that shows that traffic will be able to.
I know we're way behind the 8 ball
Yep.
in the proposal, and I appreciate you and Baxter looking into this, but currently Baxter's reconstructing everything from Inglewood, all the way from 48 actually, down to Foley there, and it's unfortunate that it couldn't be done in tandem rather than two separate, because there would have to be some kind of accommodation made at Foley
Right,
in that service drive there, so.
right. And I just want to reiterate,
I don't think they'd ever get it.
we are not closing, there's not a proposal to close Foley. It's just, it's identified. Some of the other concepts I'll go into, and I'll try to get through those a lot quicker, is that it's coming up. So you have to do something with some of these access points. High-level concepts, right now, these concepts include a closure, but if community input, business community input is going to be driving discussions around those two, and maybe with more money and time and a better analysis, you can find a solution that keeps that open also and still maintains safety.
Tim, has MnDOT seen this?
Yes, MnDOT actually was part of the study group. They contributed $10,000. We each, essentially, Baxter and Crow Wing County contributed $5,000. They were also able to contribute some. It doesn't mean that they endorse any of these. It's the very high level. Is there something feasible out there that merits some deeper analysis, and we can find some money to do that? Concept, very high concepts. And they've been a partner and they've seen these. They also reiterated, it's like, hey, this hasn't gone anywhere near their center office down in St. Paul to get approval for any of this stuff. We're just trying to identify a feasible alternative and compete for some money to get us to the next level. Okay?
I don't know.
You have a question?
Well, I don't really have a question. I was on the Baxter City Council for a while, as was Steve, and we know how difficult it is to move a railroad crossing.
Right.
I mean, they worked on the one by Super One for how many years?
Yeah, this one.
And if this is something that needs to be done now, I don't know how you're going to manage that, because the railroad doesn't like crossings too close together and doesn't like too many of them, and unless they've changed their mind, I mean, they could have.
Yeah, understand, and I would agree that there is, the railroad, has a lot of power and they have a lot of requirements of road authorities like us. But it's not impossible. And I think I want to point out that maybe that's one of the things. That's how I've characterized why maybe the advancing a concept to fix 371 and 210 has languished. There's a lot of people that will never figure this out. It's going to take forever. And that's one of the things that we're trying to overcome. Yes, it's difficult, but difficult is not impossible. And there are ways for example, they would probably support removing this one and gaining no net gain, moving it, less traffic across there. Those are the things that we need to find out. We need to find a concept first that works, and we need to get it through a public involvement process, stakeholder input, which the railroad is obviously a huge stakeholder. We need to know their input and not assume what they will and won't allow. We need to have a concept for them to react to and see if we could work something out. And it's just, I just wanted to point that out as an example, how it is a difficult challenge, but if we just cave into well, this is gonna be really hard, we're gonna be, 20 years from now, we're gonna be right here again. And we're gonna have a 6-lane intersection that's performing poorly. So I just wanted to point that out, Rosemary, as an example. It is, I agree, it's 100%,
Chair,
it's very difficult.
If I can just say to Tim, I certainly appreciate getting out ahead of this, because MnDOT, it's not on their radar at a level that it should be. And so I endorse whatever the plan is. I mean, I think there's, to your point, there's a lot of discussion that has to take place and analysis and that. So I'm not trying to beat the proposals or the looks that you have up on the board to beat those down. I'm not trying to do that. I support your efforts 100%. And it's time that this intersection gets looked at and gets addressed.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I didn't mean to sound like I was controversial or anything like that. I don't feel that way at all. It's just, I just represent it as one of the things that may be leading to why it's taken so long.
Tim, a while back, we all met over at the Brainerd City Hall with MnDOT for I think it was the 210 going east, where they had a presentation.
Yes.
Yes.
Do these projects, I'm struggling at this being one of the highest crash cost intersections, but the rest of that is on MnDOT's radar where this isn't. Is there any possibility that would work together with that? Because that project was out a few years, I think.
I think they're at 2026 right now. So it used to be 2025. It's kind of moving along. They're going to, as a matter of fact, I think late August, they're going to hold a public information meeting down in our meeting room 1 and 2 to talk about that. They're going to start their public engagement or advance their public engagement process and here invite the public in. I think if this was to ever latch on to that, we'd have to be in a big hurry and get money and that stuff. So I honestly don't think, I think they're separate. They actually, that project starts way over here, way farther to the east.
Let's get him on.
So, they are talking about it. I guess I'm not sure why that's a priority. There's a lot of crashes along there. That's a segment. That's, a couple miles, and there's probably more crashes in that couple miles than actually is happening here. And there's some other things they want to accomplish. I can't speak to why it's maybe not a priority, other than they have a lot of priorities, around the state. There's still 13 of them ahead of this in that one category, and there's somewhere there's a lot of fatalities stacking up, and they have to prioritize that. Sure. That's why it's our job to kind of help get it higher on their priority. It's number one, or one of our highest, but we have to be able to convey that to them, so hopefully that translates into a higher priority for them. And if you can bring money to the project, just like on our own program, it can elevate in priority.
Helps move along.
Okay?
Huh?
Did you get him on the phone?
No, but I had an idea, but I think I better just hold off on that.
Okay, I am saying the same things over and over and over, I find myself, so I want to kind of move it along. The other, Therese, can you go to the next one? I'll just maybe speak to those pictures. Yeah, then this is the concept of diamond interchange, and it's looks more traditional. This is again where it's going over the railroad and 371. This configuration right here is called a diverging diamond. Probably the closest one, and you might be familiar with the old in St. Cloud on 15 by Hennon's. Do you remember that? It's actually County Road 120 and then State Highway 15. That's the concept there. You kind of come up, diverge on the top of the bridge, and you actually go across the intersection in the opposite lane. So you would come up here, come up to this signal, and actually go on the left side of the road, so you could take an easy, you don't have to sit there and try to make a left. It's a new concept, and there are several emerging around Minnesota. It has a big safety improvement, and so that's why we showed it here. But the general concept of a diamond interchange is what, with 371 going over, 210 and also the railroad is the biggest takeaway. We took a look at that. It does, again, because you're changing the grades, there is some impacts to some of the businesses, or not business, but the access points, and that certainly needs to be ironed out under these concepts too. Hopefully through the analysis we can figure out a way where that wouldn't have to happen. And then the next concept, and the other one I think we took a look at, was with 210 going over. And that one has a lot of impacts. So it's actually a couple, look at all these bridges that would need to happen. So now we're starting to, this one would have to impact Excelsior. And here's, so 210's over, the interchange is flipped the other way. Here's a bridge just for the on-ramp and over. So this one's quite expensive, and it may be a preserved golf course over here, but it does impact this, and it gets very, very costly. So these are the ones that we've kind of looked at. And then Therese, can you go back to the one pager, and I'll try to wrap up here. And so the two concepts I just showed you that we call the quadrant interchange, and yep, right there. And the concept where a diamond interchange would go over 210 is kind of the ones we thought had some possibility. And that's one of the things that we wanted to do. Is like, there's something out there that's feasible. Certainly it's super high level, a lot of public and business and other stakeholder input needs to go into it. But we wanted to prove that there's something out there. We get past that big challenge, it's never going to work. This, it won't work because of this, it won't work because of this. We want to get past that and prove to those who can find the money for us that there's something out there, and hopefully that will result in them getting behind it, MnDOT raising it on the priority. And then can you scroll up, and I'll wrap up and take any last questions. So the schedule there, a lot's got to happen before that, and we just wanted to put it out there. If we act and got the money right now, maybe we could start into it, but it seems far away right now. And the cost of those concepts that we just talked about, 29 to 39 million, so a big range, a lot of money. But really the first thing, and I said this over and over, is that we need that first step. You had a lot of questions. You probably thought of a lot more questions you didn't ask. We need the money to take a step back, do that deep dive on these concepts, or maybe even others, based on the input that we're getting from the public, and do the environmental work and those kind of things to get towards plans. And so we're not really looking for the 29 to 30 million right now. We need to find out, we need to go farther. And so we're looking for that 2 million, the next bit to do the environmental work, get the engineers and the environmental folks to work looking at this and developing.
That's not up to the county board.
What's that?
That's not up to the county board.
No, no, this $2 million, these are two MnDOT roads, and nobody's pushing us for that. This is kind of the grassroots efforts to get some awareness to this project and maybe get some money. And I know that I'm working with Brad Shapoulis, who is the administrator for Baxter. I'm appearing at their work session tonight to talk about some of the same things. And I know he's been reaching out already. He's in direct contact with legislators at the state, federal level, and others, and has already planted the seed. We're already using this one pager to say, here, this is kind of where we're at. And so if you ever get back to session, or you get to back to DC and you have an opportunity, this is what we're looking for at the very minimum to move it on. And so please consider that. So I said a lot, talked in a lot of circles, said the same thing over and over. If there's any other, for one takeaway, this is a concept. This is a concept. We're raising awareness. I think we're going to do a good job of that. We're already using it. And so this is what the $5,000 that you authorized me to put towards this has produced. And so, do you have any further questions?
Not on this, but I do have, and I'm hoping this is I'm thinking it's appropriate. We have a lot of great people, to me, that work at this county who have dedicated their entire working career here. And when somebody retires, we're sad, but we're happy that they leave. But when somebody passes away way too early that works for us, we're really sad. And Tim, I don't know if you want to talk about, you had somebody pass away in your department, good guy. And I'm just hoping that the county board, we can do some kind of certificate or some kind of recognition that we could get to their family, that they'll know that we sure appreciated Todd Christ, who was a great employee for Crow Wing County. I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic employee. We're deeply saddened by Todd's passing over the weekend, and he worked for us for 12 years, and he was a mechanic for us. And I don't know if he started his career, he didn't start his career here. He came to us from Mills Ford, and I think maybe some others, where he did a great job for them too. Everybody that drove a fleet vehicle in Crow Wing County, or any vehicle, Todd maintained it over the last 12 years and maintained it. And one of the things he took some of the most pride in is making sure that our deputies and our folks that are in law enforcement and others, people maybe in community services that are transporting kids and themselves, were safe, and those vehicles were safe. And he took a lot of pride in that. And that was something great to see. He'll be greatly missed, and just a huge loss for us. It was drawn out a little bit, so we supported him over the last several years, and so.
Mr. Chairman, so I don't know if I guess I don't know right off the top of my head what we can do, but if through the county engineer and the county administrator, maybe we could come up with some proper way to recognize Todd for his service here at Crow Wing County. Would that work?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It is a great idea, and been having conversations with Mel about that very thing yesterday.
Okay. That's it. Well, one more thing on a lighter note. I was really happy today. You missed out on it, but Reed Teesey was here, and he said that I have to go back and talk to Dr. Hahn. So when he said that, it made me feel good, because the school board has nothing on us when we've got Dr. Hool here. I know you don't like that, but I can do it. But I'm glad we have a doctor too, so, okay.
Tim, thanks for the presentation.
Yes.
It is
Appreciate it.
definitely a high-level deal. The oxygen's pretty thin up there, so I got to take all this in. So, yeah, there's a lot of parts to that, so I appreciate you.
Yeah, I did the best I could. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I skimmed through a lot of it, and like I said, I know I talked in circles, but I hope the biggest takeaways, you got those, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
That's it?